It is Wednesday, July 17th, 2019. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was an educational, get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Wednesday. We covered a little bit of sweepage. If you're, basically it was some basic Oompa escapes with some added twists. And I'll tell you what, I don't know what it is. Maybe that additional piece of athletic tape on my belt, but today I just felt right. You know, not necessarily good, but just right. You know, like I rolled with a gentleman at the end, and he's actually quite skilled. And I don't know if it was just because he was a little bit of diminished capacity, but I felt like I constantly had him. You know, and there was one point I had his armpit right on my hip, and I had my arm around over his shoulder, over his I think his left shoulder, and I know there's a choke in there somewhere, and I was trying to navigate to it, but unfortunately I did not actually get it. I tried, but I think you're supposed to do your arms like a what do you call it? Like a rear naked choke almost. I want to call it a darce. It might be something else. But anyway, it's like a reverse grip arm triangle, kinda. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't get it. But yeah, like I said, for the most part, I felt very, very very crisp, and I didn't really feel threatened at all. And you know, I think it's definitely going to be one of those times where I'm going to have to step it up and really be calling out the higher belts, or you know, trying to do something more to challenge myself. Only because, like I said, I felt challenged, but at the same time not threatened. You know, it's like I didn't feel like my opponent could really put me in a position that would be so bad for me that, you know, I wouldn't be able to get out of it, or that I wouldn't be able to navigate it around to a dominant position. And so, yeah, and this is no knock on him. And again, like I said, I think he was under kind of diminished capacity, because this guy is usually very, very dynamic. And so I'm going to give it to him. I think he probably put in a hard day of work or something like that, and just, you know, he was just struggling to get by through the class. And, you know, here I am, you know, trying to prove that I actually earned that stripe on my belt. But, you know, you can't account for everything, you know. You can try, but you can't. And, you know, that kind of reminds me of the testimony that was going on today. I don't know how much of that we're actually going to cover, but there was a Senate committee or subcommittee meeting with Facebook representatives, and we may actually be covering that today. It seems like there's that, and there's one other thing that I really have been picking up articles here and there about, and have wanted to get into. But for the moment, let's go ahead and throw down for some music here. And as far as our first dance is concerned, you know, I'm really feeling it. Like I said, it was just on today, and so here it is, Bloodlust by Body Count. First dance here on Coin Metal. And that was Fear Factory with Body Hammer. So, as far as what we're going to get into today, I guess we got to start off with a little bit about, at least in a kind of off in the woods kind of way, I wanted to cover that. I may cover that. I'm sorry, I'm just going through my tabs here, and of course I've got a whole bunch of irrelevant stuff here. Stuff that I was looking up just to look it up, and yeah. Tour dates. Been trying to find some tour dates for a few bands. But anyway, as far as what we're going to get into, I'm trying to find the... I guess we'll just go from here. This one is kind of funny because this subject was actually brought up during that Senate subcommittee meeting, or whatever, Senate meeting with Facebook. And Facebook they followed the suit of a lot of crypto scammers where they set up their foundation in Swiss jurisdictions as opposed to the United States. And this is, of course, because of regulatory issues that, for whatever reason, some of their handling or whatever of the funds in question, or just the supposed legitimacy of reserves held in Swiss bank accounts, that's been a bit overplayed by the market, I would say. But the Swiss are kind of lenient with regard to their regulatory requirements by comparison to the United States, and it's one of the reasons why entities such as Facebook, or I'm trying to think of another one, but there have been several that they set up in like Zug, Switzerland. That's where they register their holdings company. And again, I believe it's because there are physical reserves in Switzerland, and of course everybody and their brother stacks their obligations on top of it as collateral. Now, whether or not they actually have any more than a claim of a claim is beyond anybody's knowledge. Because Swiss are, I guess, kind of tight-lipped about their finances, their actual liquidity state. So, yeah, this, like I said, this came up during the subcommittee meeting, and I don't recall whether or not they actually answered this. But so here it is. It's on Cointelegraph.com. CNBC, Facebook has not contacted Swiss regulators on Libra's registration. And this is authored, I'm supposing, approximately 59 minutes ago. But let's give it a nice refresh here. 7 hours ago. Glad we did that. And this is by Anna Alexander. So no penis. So yeah, 7 hours ago. Social media giant Facebook has reportedly not contacted Swiss regulators regarding the registration of its long-awaited cryptocurrency project, Libra. On July 16th, Hugo Weiler, a spokesperson for and head of communication at the Swiss Federal Data Protection and Information Commissioner, FDPIC, told CNBC that the agency has not been contacted by the promoters of Libra. Notably, the Libra project's head, David Marcus, mentioned in his testimony that the FDPIC would be the Libra Association's privacy regulator. Quote, "For the purposes of data and privacy protections, the Swiss Federal Data Protection and Information Commissioner will be the Libra Association's privacy regulator." Weiler said that, quote, "We have taken note of the statements made by David Marcus, chief of Calibra, on our potential role as data protection supervisory authority in the Libra context. Until today, we have not been contacted by the promoters of Libra," and further added, quote, "We expect Facebook or its promoters to provide us with concrete information when the time comes. Only then will we be able to examine the extent to which our legal, advisory, and supervisory competence is given. In any case, we are following the development of the project in the public debate. U.S. lawmakers wary of a foreign-regulated coin." As a hearing today with the United States House of Representatives Financial Services Committee, Representative Patrick McHenry asked Marcus why Facebook wanted to have its project based in Switzerland, to which Marcus responded that it was an international place conducive to doing business. Representative Josh Gottheimer expressed his own concerns as to why Facebook has decided to go abroad, to which Marcus said, again, "The choice of Switzerland, nothing to do with evading regulations or oversight." Marcus assured Representative Bill Huizenga that Facebook had indeed been in touch with the Financial Market Supervisory Authority, a Swiss financial regulator. Marcus further underlined, that Facebook would not launch the Libra cryptocurrency project before they had received the go-ahead from all relevant regulatory authorities, i.e. none. So yeah, let's see what the comments have to say. Alice Clerks says, testing our patience. Damn, Skippy. I agree. Katie Colthane, what a bunch of idiots. Facebook will never get this off the ground, and if they do, it'll take 10 to 20 years. Don't forget they're dealing with the U.S. government, and if they don't, they'd better move their HQ to Malta, because U.S. will break up Facebook under antitrust legislation. You can literally see the red rage in each senator's eyes. They played this wrong. They should have lobbied first, then introduce it. Yeah. Herman, I agree with that, Katie. Herman Lowe says, it is bigger than that. Bigger than FB. We're setting the stage for Amazon, Apple, Uber coins. Government sovereignty over money is coming to an end. It actually ended about 10 years ago, Herman. Herman Lowe again says, we will see the day where we don't have to sell our house in just US dollars or transmit micropayments through Visa or ask for permission to send money to your mom in Venezuela. Goddamn right, sir. Ed Gioki says, I call bullshit. I don't trust Facebook. They're up to no good. I personally think Facebook should be broken up. I actually don't believe they should be broken up. I believe that they should either live or die on their own. They've done a lot to get the reputation that they have, both good and bad, and so let them be judged by the market. Let the market decide. And I'll tell you what, Ed, the market knows much better than any entity, any government entity, what Facebook's actual value is and what their utility is and what use there will be in the future. You know, they have plenty of potential, but the question is, at what point will your choices be taken away? You know, so like if you're using Facebook coin, will they really be protecting your privacy, meaning not disseminating who you are, where you are, what you're spending your money on? You know, will they be holding true to that, or will they be abusing their position in the market? And any entity as big as Facebook, they're already facing an oodle of regulatory fucking infringement on everything they do. And so, you know, you've got to wonder, you know, are they really going to test themselves by really issuing this coin? I think that, like the first poster pointed out, that this thing will be 10 to 20 years if it is actually regulatory compliant. And if not, they will have to pull up stakes from the United States, because the regulatory burden alone will bankrupt them. And that's that. I mean, the rules are set up that way. They're set up so that the NYDFS runs everything. You know, they've got final say on where the money goes and who the money goes to, and when it goes and under what conditions it goes, and you know what the success rate is of the completion of the transaction, and so on and so forth. So yeah, continuing on, Herman Lowe again says, we all know USD will fail in its own weight. That's a given. The question is who or what will migrate us out of fiat to digital. Is it government fed coins, private coins, public blockchain coins? Either way, Congress has very little to say with the innovation. I couldn't agree more, Herman. Your take on that is really, really keen. However, I think that in the longer term, we're going to see a different type of nationalism. And it's partially in deregulation, where the economy is really going to have to be evaluating, you know, what the cost benefit is to any particular regime that we're currently undergoing. You know, I mean, because some of it does have benefits. Some of it does perform positive functions in the market. You know, some of it prevents, you know, really noxious chemicals from being used and so on and so forth. But even that has been kind of counterweighed to who has the most US dollars. Now, when you add into that a coupling of who has the most Ethereum and who has the most Litecoin and who has the most Bitcoin, and who has the most Verge, and who has the most Monero or EOS or whatever. Alright, now all of a sudden you've got a whole bunch of different players who have a shit ton of influence in the market that could be determining what happens where and why. And because the process of mining is open to the public, that could just as easily be you. And it's just a matter of where you want to dedicate your hardware, electricity, bandwidth, what you want to dedicate it to. If you want to dedicate it to Dogecoin and you happen to get rich in Dogecoin, there you go. The banks, for the most part, have enjoyed this aspect of the economy, where they get to issue the money and they get to be the first winner in line, regardless of what happens. They get to manipulate the market. They get to manipulate how much coin they're issuing at any one time, and they can do that to their advantage. And it's in their best interest to do it to their advantage. They're in it to make money, just like anybody else. And you can't really fault them for wanting to contain that and keep that positive thing as their own. The trouble is, people previously and a good number of the current participants have abused this position and have abused that monopoly power. And much to the detriment of the rest of the economy and the rest of the planet, I would say. But that's the type of thing that's going to change. Is that holders of Bitcoin, users of Bitcoin, they're going to be the ones directing their monetary value as they see fit. Not as Monsanto sees fit or fucking General Dynamics or ExxonMobil or Halliburton. No. We're re-leveling the playing field here. We don't have to transact in the coins that benefit them. We don't have to transact in the systems that benefit them with our every transaction. We could be benefiting one another in our transactions. Like if you're mining Litecoin and I transact in Litecoin and I pay the transaction fee in Litecoin, if you get the block reward, you get that transaction fee. You're getting a direct benefit from my use of the coin that you're mining. And that's something that has been more or less ganked from us by us having to be forced to utilize US dollars or any other fiat currency as the means of exchange, the medium of exchange. And this is one of the reasons why Facebook coin doesn't really look like it's going to be really all that popular or really all that used. Unless earning Facebook coin is really, really fucking easy. I mean, so easy that I can sit here and point and click all day and earn enough money to keep the electricity on, and the internet on, and the water on, and the food in my mouth, and the rent for the house, and so on and so forth. If I can't earn a living doing it, then, I got to dedicate my time doing something that I can actually earn a living on. But again, this is one of the reasons why Facebook coin is not likely to succeed, because they're trying to, most of the things that they talk about in their white papers, how they're positioning themselves to be the primary beneficiaries in all of this. And really, you just have to pay attention to the wording. I mean, they say explicitly that they're not going to be the entity that's tracking all your bullshit. But they don't say that no entity is going to be tracking your bullshit. And they don't say that no entity is going to be profiting off of it and selling it and monetizing it. No. They don't say that. They make assurances about certain aspects of data and only pertaining to Calibra and Facebook and so on and so forth. But they're not specific about anything else on that. So, anyway, continuing on. Got this thing, and I don't talk about Lightning too much on the show. And it's because I feel like Lightning is a step back into like a Visa type payment system. And it seems completely pointless to me to be using a cryptocurrency, a currency that is not dependent upon the use or presence of a third party to facilitate the transaction or approve the transaction or anything like that, and use it via what will eventually be third parties. You know, people look at it right now and they think, oh yeah, you know, I'm going to be running my Lightning node and I'm going to be making money on micro transaction fees, and then yeah, okay, maybe. But what's more likely is that due to the regulatory concerns and due to the money laundering concerns and due to the regulatory cruft that you would have to deal with, the likelihood is that Visa will be facilitating your Bitcoin transactions, and you will download a wallet from them, and you will import your Bitcoin into their payment channel, and they'll cover the transaction fee to include it. You know, but it's only because they're going to be doing the transaction fees for millions of other transactions that are associated with the one transaction that they're fitting into a block. And that's just the way I see it. Because the fact of the matter is the transaction fees are not going to go down. And you're all going to be competing for 1 megabyte worth of block space. You know, you want to get your payment channel started, yeah, okay. You're going to have to pay a couple $1,000s to get your transaction included in a block. Because you're not competing with just Joe and Mary and Bob and Alice. No. You're competing with Morgan Stanley or, you know, Chase, or Bank of America or Visa or MasterCard. You're going to be competing with these entities to be getting their transactions included in that block as well. So anyway, I got this article here on, I guess it's news.bitcoin.com. And this is by Jamie Redman. Let's check and verify something because we can. Because it's yes, penis. And this is author. Let's do a verification on time. Approximately 2 hours ago, Lightning Network's anti-fraud methods inferior to Nakamoto consensus, research shows. And I've seen another article about this, and we might actually cover it today. 2.2 Bitcoin taken in justice scenarios on the Lightning Network. It's been well over 18 months, and the Lightning Network is still in an experimental form, and one that has strayed away from Nakamoto consensus. The project is intended to be a second-layer solution for Bitcoin payments and microtransactions, but the undertaking has been slow and filled with technical issues. Lightning started on January 18, 2018, with around 60 nodes, and it was highlighted to be very, quote, experimental and, quote, in testing. At that time, there was around 1.2 Bitcoin held within the network, and now there's more than 940 Bitcoin, or $9.8 million, on July 15th. A great majority of those funds stem from a node called lnbig.com and some other big channels like async and lightningpowerusers.com. On July 15th, BitMEX Research examined the Lightning Network and studied how a mechanism called a, quote, justice transaction punishes alleged, quote, dishonest parties. So far, justice transactions stemming from the Lightning Network have confiscated 2.2 Bitcoin, or a touch over $20,000. Quote, we explain how to arbitrarily construct a justice scenario and present data on the prevalence of this type of transaction on the Bitcoin network. The BitMEX research report highlights, quote, we have potentially identified 241 justice transactions representing 2.22 Bitcoin in value since the Lightning Network launched at the end of 2017. According to BitMEX research, when a thief, quote-unquote thief, attempts to pilfer Bitcoin on the Lightning Network and they are caught, they lose the funds they tried to steal and the funds within the channel as well. BitMEX research said while conducting the study, the team executed their own justice transactions. Moreover, a member of the company Lightning Labs developed a tool that can detect these types of justice transactions. In total, BitMEX did 5 test justice transactions, which means the software's justice scenario may not be accurate when it comes to identifying dishonesty. Quote, "It is also possible that many of the 241 justice transactions do not indicate genuine dishonesty. For instance, it could be users testing the system where the same user owns both Lightning nodes in question." The Lightning Network analysis explains, quote, For example, BitMEX research is responsible for 5 of the 241 justice transactions when there was no victim, as BitMEX owned all of the nodes and the funds. But who will watch the watchtowers? The report follows the recent discussion concerning the idea of watchtowers on the Lightning Network. Watchtowers is another system of nodes that will attempt to protect the Lightning Network users from fraud. Basically, watchtowers are Lightning Network nodes that operate with a distinct algorithm and are meant to stop Alice from stealing Bob's funds by monitoring transactions and channel states. Being permissionless by design, anyone will be able to run a watchtower, like individuals and companies. But blockchain surveillance firms could use them as well. Because the Lightning Network LN does not use Nakamoto consensus, the system that confirms on-chain transactions, funds on the Lightning Network could essentially be double spent by issuing a former channel state. So if your LN node is not online 100% of the time, and you go offline for a couple of days, your funds could get stolen. Watchtowers could easily bring unwanted third parties into the LN design, but proponents say that anyone could subscribe to a group of watchtowers by running one themselves. And Jameson Lopp says detractors will claim watchtowers introduce trusted third parties into the Lightning Network. While you could blindly trust a single watchtower, that would be dumb. You can run your own watchtowers and also subscribe to many others. As long as one of the end work, you're protected, I guess. The 940 Bitcoin, or $9.8 million, is actually a decline in the Lightning Network's capacity, as it has been slowly dropping over the last few weeks. According to Blockstream developer Rusty Russell, the latest rise in price may be the reason why the capacity has declined, while also highlighting the project is still in its infancy. Quote, "I hope this is an indication that people are remembering that Lightning is still beta," Russell noted, and are reducing capacity to control their risk profile as the Bitcoin price rises. The problem, however, took place during the height of the last price pump, as on-chain Bitcoin fees, or BTC fees, skyrocketed upwards of $3 to $5 per transaction, and the mempool transaction queue became backed up. LN proponents have said that high fees may push more people into using the LN system, but this hasn't come to fruition yet. The controversial discussion concerning justice transactions made its way to social media forums on Tuesday, which invoked criticism against the Lightning Network and the idea of using watchtowers. On the Reddit forum RBTC, the user known as umob2 condemned the justice transactions concept and said, quote, "In other words, Lightning Network is not immutable. Who will be watching the watchtowers to make sure they are not in cahoots with the bad guys? And why does it have to be so complicated? Professor of Computer Science Jorge Stolfi wrote on Reddit that justice transactions could have been an accidental error, like someone trying to close a channel with a backup copy of an LN wallet, or quote, or an LN wallet with a different computer that does not have a record of the most recent payment through that channel. Stolfi emphasized. Commenting further, Stolfi added, quote, "Note that there is no safe way to sync Lightning wallets, like there is, sort of, for ordinary Bitcoin wallets. That's because payments made through a channel are not stored anywhere except on the two nodes connected by it." Will Lightning's topology concerns, centralized hubs, and routing problems be addressed in the next 18 months? Skeptics think not. Lightning has been criticized by many individuals, and with a quick Google search, anyone can find lengthy studies about LN's topology concerns, discussion about centralized hubs, and routing problems. Electron Cash developer Jonald Fuchball thinks liquidity is the Lightning Network's biggest issue. For example, in order to get your payment to someone, every hop in the route has to have a channel open and ready with at least as much funds as you wanted to send. Fuchball explained. The blockchain engineer commented further and stated that the best case scenario for LN liquidity would be mega super hubs like banks, which wouldn't be peer-to-peer anymore. Quote, "All Lightning Network nodes have to be online all the time, so the user needs an always full Bitcoin node plus a Lightning node," Fuchball said, summing up his LN critique. Quote, "There are a bunch of other LN issues too. Like developers don't know how to actually solve distributed routing, as it's a known hard unsolved problem in computer science. And even if LN worked great, it would take decades to onboard the world based on BTC's low capacity." Look, I'm all for innovation and I'm all for trying shit. Okay, but the fact of the matter is that Bitcoin has been kind of held up, I think, by the pursuit of LNs. That while they may have been originally well intended, if considered at quote-unquote scale, it's kind of obvious that you need some large centralized entity that isn't sending the money between a whole bunch of little nodes, but from one entry in their form to another entry in the form before they finalize the transaction. And that's it. So yeah, as far as my opinion on this is, I think some people have been harsh on LNs. I've been very hard on LNs, and with good reason, I feel. Only, again, because as I see it, they're unnecessary. What is necessary is creating the capacity for more individuals like you and me to profitably mine Bitcoin and be a part of Bitcoin. That's what got Bitcoin to where it was. It's not ASICs and it's not fucking Blockstream. It's people like you and me that were setting up our spare hardware and running the fucking thing. Running a miner on it and mining away into the night to that horrible fucking buzzing fan sound and the fucking heat. We were willing to do it. We were willing to make that small sacrifice to see to the success of this project. And a lot of that capability has been kind of cornered off from us. I do think that more of us individually mining would be profitable for us individually, because it would cause the hash rate to increase no matter what. But at the same time, I think that there are other coins that we could be mining just as profitably that work just as well as Bitcoin does. And that's no knock on Bitcoin, but it's a reflection of the fact that this technology is 10 years old now. There's been 10 years of 24/7 development going in 2,000 different directions, if not more, and all trying to solve the same problem. So, it's not unreasonable that there are 2,000 potential alternatives for you to use, if not more, but to achieve the same thing that you could through Bitcoin. And so, it's one of those things that you have to look at when you're considering, do we really want to push this technical debt onto the users of running both a Lightning node and a regular Bitcoin node, and not actually being rewarded for it? I mean, if you were dedicating the same amount of electricity, the same amount of hardware to mining, you'd actually make money. But instead, pushing this demand on you that you run this node and keep funds alive on it, and hope that somebody doesn't do some transaction that just snatches your money out of your fucking node. While you could be mining some altcoin, you could be mining Doge at a profit. Anyway, continuing on. Let's go ahead and throw down into some music. And I'm feeling the need for some gizmachi. And so here it is. Burn. Here on Coin Metal. And that was Clutch with Escape from the Prison Planet. Yeah. And so I was digging around a little bit on my Twitter feed, and I managed to find this bad boy. And so yeah, let's get into it. This is from the World Economic Forum. It's approximately 17 pages long. I think we'll probably be able to get through it. But it's a white paper, Building Value with Blockchain Technology, How to Evaluate Blockchain's Benefits, in collaboration with Accenture. If memory serves, Accenture is the developer of the mutable blockchain. Let's see here. Forward and page 4. And let's see who authored this bad boy. It's Sheila Warren, head of blockchain and distributed ledger technology, World Economic Forum, and David Treat, managing director, Accenture. So yes and no, penis. In 2018, the World Economic Forum released, quote, Blockchain Beyond the Hype, a practical framework that aimed to help decision makers distinguish between hype and viable use cases. Once decision makers had decided that blockchain may add value, they asked another question, quote, how can this value be articulated? Continuing this series, we are providing businesses, governments, and other organizations with a blockchain value framework to help them build out a business case for blockchain investment. This paper builds upon the idea that blockchain deployment is not an end goal. When done right, blockchain is all about rethinking business models, rethinking relationships between companies and between companies and customers, and is at its heart a strategic change effort. Therefore, this toolkit helps decision makers see how blockchain value drivers may map to organizational objectives. Through this alignment, organizations can understand whether blockchain is worth the investment for specific circumstances and make strategic decisions on whether they should or should not invest in the technology, keeping in mind that blockchain is just one option for organizations looking to digitize. Created in collaboration with Accenture Research, this framework was based on a global survey of 550 individuals across 13 industries, dozens of interviews with public sector leaders and private sector chief executive officers, and an analysis of 79 blockchain projects. A draft of the framework was further validated at a multilateral session of global leaders at the World Economic Forum Annual Meeting 2019 in Davos Clusters. Succinctly, this framework helps organizational leaders to confidently evaluate the relevant opportunities of blockchain technology. Yeah. Yeah, whatever. Introduction. Since the digital era, organizations have been looking for ways to improve their operating model through modernizing their technology infrastructure. Being able to simplify complex processes while enabling innovation is the driving motivation for tech modernization. No, it isn't. It's to make more money. Today, organizations are trying to understand what role emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, immersive reality, and even quantum computing will have in their businesses. The fourth industrial revolution has arrived, and organizations understand the need to innovate to prevent them from being disrupted. Oh, that's already too late. High-growth organizations are investing aggressively and taking a distinct approach to innovation that is change-oriented, outcome-led, and disruption-minded. But with blockchain technology, even the leaders have challenges when realizing the true value of the technology. This white paper can help organizations by understanding the state of the blockchain environment and the path to adoption. The analysis highlights the main advantages of the technology broken down by industry, and the interviews shed light on the benefits and challenges of blockchain technology. And for organizations unsure where to begin or how to build a business case to assess the technology, the value framework shows what blockchain enables and where one can expect to realize value from it. Through peer-to-peer privacy-enabling payments, though peer-to-peer privacy-enabling payments are perhaps the best-known applications of blockchain technology, ergo Bitcoin, they are not the focus of this paper. So in other words, we're wasting your time. This paper intends to help organizations build out a business case after deciding that blockchain may be a good fit for a particular use case. For those looking for guidance on decision-making, see Part 1 of this series, Blockchain Beyond the Hype, a practical guide for business leaders. Landscape. Each organization may take the path to blockchain adoption at different times, but the steps along the way remain similar. In many organizations, the move along this path comes to a halt at some point between the proof of concept stage and production. The funding source may be a vital contributor. According to Accenture's, quote, Building Value with Blockchain survey, more than 64% of blockchain initiatives are currently being funded by IT or research/innovation budgets, implying that the focus is on technology rather than aligning with the main areas of opportunity for the organization. In other words, they're using it to jerk off. However, organizations are certainly taking note of blockchain. Worldwide spending on blockchain solutions is forecast to be nearly $2.9 billion in 2019, before surging to $12.4 billion in 2022. According to a 2018 Constellation Research survey, 67% of U.S. companies are evaluating or implementing blockchain technology, with a quarter already having projects underway or completed. In addition to the vast opportunity, this motivation is often driven by sheer competitiveness. According to the survey, 57% of respondents investing in blockchain technology agreed or strongly agreed that their organization should adopt blockchain technology to remain competitive. And of those who declared their blockchain investments, 68% are spending more than $1 million, with 27% spending more than $10 million on blockchain activity. This activity is not limited to the private sector. A recent World Economic Forum report showed that over 40 central banks are researching distributed ledger technology for a variety of use cases. Elsewhere in the public sector, there are 202 blockchain initiatives spanning 45 countries. When asked what led organizations to invest in blockchain technology, 75% included their organizational priority for innovation. These top three areas of interest across surveyed industries were: number 1, full traceability of information on the blockchain; number 2, the ability to check that data had not been tampered with; and number 3, the way the technology is distributed. Notably, law organizations selected, quote, new business products or services, which ranked last among the options for investment. This suggests that the current focus for organizations is on improving existing products and services before considering investing in new opportunities. Overall, it appears that blockchain truly adds value in instances where there is a need for tamper-evident ledgers, along with decentralized control, particularly where participants have an even hierarchy. The executive perspective. Many of the executives overseeing large-scale and advanced blockchain initiatives stress the technology's value as a data-sharing mechanism. However, it is challenging to convene diverse operations and businesses to implement the technology across the trade chain. As a result, many organizations choose to bring the smallest number of necessary parties to the table before opening it up to additional parties, with the hope that early use cases will serve as an incentive for other parties to join in the future. Due to their relationships and organizational structures, common infrastructure operators and market-wide collaboration platforms may be well placed to succeed in this space. Quote, there are lots of cases where people need common repositories, common systems of record, common directories, and things where you need coordination between multiple different parties in a business ecosystem. And that was Brian Bellendorf, Executive Director of Hyperledger, an umbrella project of open source blockchains and related tools hosted by the Linux Foundation. The interviews highlighted the potential of the technology to simplify and optimize complete value chains through the sharing of simplified real-time data with increased efficiency. Because the technology is intrinsically decentralized and distributed, blockchain can help remove bottlenecks and put pressure on low-value intermediaries to take up overdue technology and structural improvements, or simply leave the market altogether. One additional theme uncovered in the interviews is the way in which blockchain can stimulate innovation around both products and processes. New opportunities to innovate will arise as external data becomes trustworthy and improvements in automation, smart contracts, and digital identity and assets continue. Quote, blockchain is a database architecture technology and in particular provides the ability for anyone to build applications on top of a common infrastructure that could be reusable from one customer to the next. Once you've created this shared source of truth through this technology, you can also then create the ability for cross-organizational workflows to be dramatically simplified. And that's by Peter Hume, Deputy Chief Executive Officer of Australian Securities Exchange, ASX. While this theme was prevalent among executives, only 17% of survey respondents noted, quote, new business products and services as a top 3 advantage of blockchain technology, potentially indicating that the broader populations prioritize short-term gain while executives think longer term. No, that's not what they're saying to you. They're saying that they've tried to apply it and have found minimal success, while the executives still expect, they're probably still high on opium and misled expectations of the technology and haven't quite come to terms with the reality yet. But we'll find out. From use case to business case. So, your team has a use case or two you are excited about. If you're still making this decision, the World Economic Forum's tree may help determine the feasibility of blockchain for your idea. The next step is assessing the value of your blockchain use case. This can effectively be done by using the blockchain value framework and the 4-step process detailed below. The prerequisite step is critical. It is important to carefully consider whether blockchain is the best solution relative to other technologies or other digitization strategies. As noted in, quote, blockchain beyond the hype, blockchain may not be a viable solution, or it may not be the correct time to pursue this avenue. The blockchain value framework. This value driver framework aims to help organizations identify the value of blockchain technology in their use cases and build a corresponding business case. As stated earlier, it is based on a global survey of 550 individuals across 13 industries, dozens of interviews with public sector leaders and private sector chief executive officers, and an analysis of 79 blockchain company projects. The projects were evaluated across 3 main value dimensions. Number 1, improving productivity and quality. Number 2, increasing transparency among parties. And number 3, reinventing products and processes. When building business cases to evaluate the blockchain opportunity, the value drivers can become the prime benefits or opportunities that organizations need to assess. These will differ for each use case. Some will be realized in traditional metrics such as operating costs, number of employees, or increased revenue. In other words, opportunities will be measured in lives saved or privacy rights enabled. It is nearly impossible to accurately state the general impact of a use case broadly, but given this framework, organizations can identify potential expected areas of value on which to focus within their personalized business cases. It is important to note that some of these value drivers may be achieved through digitization and does not involve blockchain, so the evaluation should take into account blockchain's cost relative to other solutions. Blockchain framework, value framework in action. Number 1, understand the impact of the idea to the business. Each use case should initially be assessed for the pain points it addresses and/or the opportunities it creates. Next, those pain points and opportunities are prioritized. This assessment of the current state captures an honest picture of the present situation and what matters most, without thinking about how to solve issues or which technology to use. This process re-emphasizes the importance of the projects being managed and owned by the profit and loss groups. Key questions: what are your pain points and areas of opportunity? What matters most to your organization? Number 2, think through blockchain's role. Blockchain use cases have the potential to transform the business across 3 main dimensions. Number 1, improving productivity and quality. Number 2, increasing transparency among parties. And number 3, reinventing products and processes. Bucketing the pain points and opportunities into these 3 groups simplifies the next steps. Key questions: Are there characteristics of blockchain that can help with the identified pain points, areas of opportunity? How so specifically? Are there other technologies that can solve the same pain points / areas of opportunity more effectively or efficiently? Consider cost, risk, and speed of implementation. Consider the real-world example below. Number 3, Use the blockchain value framework cheat sheet to assist in moving from current state assessment to future state blockchain opportunity. Each dimension includes the blockchain enabling capabilities that, at times single-handedly, but often in conjunction with others, provide a solution to the pain point or present areas of opportunity. Consider this as the validation that blockchain is the correct technology to solve the current state priority and a first step for future development to focus on. Key questions. How do these characteristics map to the enabling capabilities? Check in again. Are these priority areas for your organization, and are these enabling capabilities specific to blockchain when considered holistically? Number 4. Identify where the value will be created. The value drivers are where you will find your cost savings, your increased revenue, and your improved customer experience. Each driver touches on important components of the business that are driven by technology, and when the time comes, these value drivers become the basis for any business case. Key questions. What are the value drivers that map to this pain point / area of opportunity? How can we think about measuring or capturing this type of impact? Have we made a strong case both at the organizational level and the ecosystem level? Consider the real-world example below: freight bill, audit, and pay. Billions of dollars a year are invoiced to organizations for freight moves by truck, train, aircraft, and ship. The freight bill audit and pay (FBA and P) process involves matching invoices against the services rendered prior to payment and remittance. The shipping process starts with negotiating shipping rates, completing the purchase order, tracking the shipment, calculating and auditing the invoice, and finally paying the carrier. Along this process, there are numerous pain points and potential areas for discrepancies, each of which increases the risk of mismanaging or incorrectly paying an invoice. Blockchain offers an opportunity to solve or mitigate these issues. Consider the below example, which begins with the value chain, identifies the opportunity for blockchain technology and its enabling capability, and then pinpoints the value driver. This is a real-world example of a blockchain solution for an oil and gas company. Upon completing this analysis, the team was able to build a business case to quantify the value of each driver, calculating an expected reduced freight spend of 5%, up to $100 million. Figure 4, how blockchain can help solve FBA and P issues. My apologies there. Pain points / areas of opportunity. The first one is difficulty in managing missing and changing rates, which leads to downtime involving problems. Downstream invoicing problems. Jesus Christ, I can't read today. Blockchain solution. Having a single shared source of previously agreed upon information can ensure everyone is aligned on the rates and corresponding terms and conditions. Enabling capability, value driver or holistic view, and value driver is transparency. Pain points, areas of opportunity, lack of visibility in goods movement and shipping location. Being able in blockchain solution is being able to track the shipment in real time provides all parties with increased confidence in their goods and the ability to quickly react to any unexpected disruptions. Enabling capability is full traceability. Value driver is track and trace. The next pain point is inaccurate rates or calculations being used for the invoice, often caused by lack of visibility or confusion on metrics such as number of miles traveled, time to complete the trip, etc. The blockchain solution: primary organization would no longer need to trust the accuracy of the shipper's data or calculations, such as the number of miles traveled or time to complete the trip, as this data can be automatically gathered and shared with all parties on the blockchain. Enabling capability is holistic view, and value driver is data sharing. Next pain point is opportunity is use of third-party auditors that are costly and lengthen the process. Blockchain solution: using smart contracts and blockchain technology, the level of effort to audit invoices is greatly reduced. Many activities such as reconciliation are eliminated through having a single shared document, while others are automated through smart contracts, calculating invoices based on agreed upon rates and tracking data. Enabling capability, automation, value driver, auditability. Key dimension 1: improving productivity and quality. Auditability: given blockchain's ability to provide a shared ledger of transactions to all parties with full traceability of any assets and associated activity, organizations can not only cut their auditing costs, but raise levels of confidence in the data they are producing without having to manually validate the data. And the example metric is mistakes eliminated. And I wouldn't agree with that. Compliance. Compliance brings with it a great deal of risk and damage. If mismanaged, knowing that blockchain can't be tampered with can provide increased confidence in the data while streamlining administrative processes and reducing costs. Processes involving manual checks for compliance that currently take weeks can be accelerated through a distributed ledger of all relevant information. Tying blockchain technology to emerging technologies such as AI and the IoT can enable real-time data gathering and processing to improve overall compliance. Example metric: risk mitigated. Data management. Blockchain can improve the management of data in three main areas. Number 1, data provenance and accuracy through knowing more about digital assets and accompanying data. Number 2, data integrity through access/authentication to the network and easy identification of manipulation or tampering. And number 3, data aggregation and organization, as blockchain enables the seamless sharing of real-time data from a single data source. Example metric: improved product forecasting. Data security. According to new Accenture research, poor data security could cost companies $5.2 trillion over the next 5 years, yet only 30% of organizations are confident in their data security. Blockchain technology makes use of military-level cryptography that creates a more secure environment for sharing and storing data, reducing the risk of a data breach and limiting the damage should it occur. Example metric: data breach is prevented. That's, again, not something I would fully agree with. Ownership. Blockchain technology can enable true data ownership of both real-world goods and digital assets by creating improved intellectual property and personalized data profiles without the need to check the history or current state of the item. Example metric: improved customer experience. Payments. Blockchain technology can draw on the single shared data source to ensure payments are accurate and remove the need to manually audit and track down payments. With smart contracts, these payments can be automated, streamlining the entire process, potentially removing unnecessary processing costs. Example metric: eliminated overpaying of invoices. I wouldn't agree with that one either. Cryptocurrency and payment systems. Blockchain technology is perhaps most widely discussed in the context of decentralized cryptocurrencies and payment systems. While the core motivations for the use of blockchain are similar, increased time and cost efficiency and increased transparency, the singular nature of the use cases means that value may be evaluated outside of the outlined value framework. Specifically, blockchain enables peer-to-peer payments without banking intermediaries and reduces the settlement times and costs associated with these payments. An organization may evaluate whether it wants to take advantage of these properties for any number of business reasons. If it proves valuable, the organization can create a new system or make use of existing systems. Process automation. Blockchain enables business processes to be executed automatically via rules-based algorithms. Organizations can use blockchain to look for improvements in efficiency, cost savings, and increased worker productivity and retention by shifting the focus of the workforce to one of jobs with higher engagement and satisfaction. How about higher productivity? Example metric: resources reallocated. Reconciliation. Inaccurate or missing information or fragmented communication between multiple parties are often magnified year after year as unreconciled items get pushed forward. Additional complexities arise due to duplicate entries, post-event changes from cancellations or returns, or conversion from analog to digital inputs. Blockchain technology can significantly cut down the overall costs in solving reconciliation while reducing errors and the accumulation of unreconciled items. Example metric: eliminated duplicate payments. Standardization. For multiple organizations to work together in a blockchain system, they must agree on common terms, business logic, and business flow as they share access to the same data and apply the same smart contract-enabled business logic. All participants must agree to the set rules by which they will work together. This task is often daunting for many industries that have minimal experience of driving this level of agreement. Example metric: improved speed to market. Track and trace. The management and tracking of supply chains as it stands today is cumbersome, costly, and susceptible to human error, and vulnerable to criminal activities. Distributed ledger technology allows trading organizations to view each step of the supply chain process. Each party can verify the current state and trail of the products without depending on direct communication with others in the network. Example metric: resource time saved. Dimension 2. Increasing transparency among parties. Data sharing. When retained in isolated systems, often fragmented and rarely shared between organizations, data starts to lose its value and verifiability. Without blockchain technology, a receiving organization must trust the validity of any data that it receives before being able to capture its value. With blockchain, however, trading partners can share real-time data, but also the history of that data and any modifications to it. Example metric: enhanced value from data models. Resiliency. Organizations that manage and maintain on-site and central data systems are at risk of malicious or incompetent employees, natural disasters, or other events that can irreparably destroy data. Existing in a distributed form, blockchain creates a highly resilient network with multiple shared copies of the data, which mitigates the risk of an isolated attack or incident. Example metric: decreased downtime. Transparency. Blockchain technology's distributed ledger allows all designated parties to view the data in real time. With unlimited transparency, our organizations can identify opportunities, improve decision-making, and track and trace the outcome of these decisions. Example metric: improved incident response rate. Trust. Trust is being challenged in the digital world. With organizations unable to verify basic essentials, blockchain helps enable and even automate trust through cryptographically securing information and providing transparency to the state and trail of data. Example metric: mitigated business risk. And we're going to pause right there. I'm feeling a little bit dry here, so like I said, I'm going to throw it back down into a little bit of music. And what exactly to go to? Let's do a little corrosion of conformity. And as far as what song? Dance of the Dead, here on Coin Metal. And that was Textures with New Horizons. Man, that's definitely one I'm going to have to add to my my MP3 player. Got this little cheapo MP3 player. I love the thing to death. Doesn't track my data. Doesn't rat me out to anybody. Just lets me put some fucking music on it and play. I like that. Very, very simple function. Anyway, let's get back into this thing. Maybe. Possibly. I don't know. My general feeling about this is that one thing that they haven't actually indicated is which blockchain they're talking about. Are they talking about you initiating and deploying your own blockchain, or are they talking about you potentially using something like Lightning Network and using quote-unquote blockchain to do all of your base transactions? One of the things that they fail to mention here is what actually gives blockchains their security. The blockchains are the shit to a cow, or bull, bullshit. But you don't get bullshit without the bull. You have to have miners. And not only do you have to have miners, you have to have incentivized public miners. They have to be doing this for a reason. The making the money. They have to be incentivized to do what they're doing, because it's got to be more costly to dedicate your resources to it, to cheating, than it does to work legitimately. And see, if you're talking about a private blockchain, you're talking about something without any real incentive structure. And so lying to the blockchain is just as good as not lying to the blockchain. And you can GPS track stuff, and you can combine that with your smart contracts and all that other business. But again, the legitimacy of the transactions and the legitimacy of the data is derived from a global network trying to make sure it's actually correct. And those people that network consists of, those participants, are incentivized to do it. They're not doing that shit for free. Come on now. And so, of course, the subject of transaction fees comes in. And then you got to think about that. Does the incentive structure of the cryptocurrency in question fit your use case? And I mean, there are a number of cryptocurrencies out there with really, really teeny, tiny fees and really high throughput capacity that could be servicing your transactions. And that's an exciting thing. It's really what gives all of this any kind of strength is the fact that we can all participate in them. We get to express our vote. It's almost like if you could go to any company in the world and work specifically for them. So I want to just say Tesla. Say you love Tesla. You love Elon Musk. You love Tesla. You love the Tesla cars. You love their AI projects. You're really behind all of their innovation with SpaceX and all that other stuff, right? And you want to dedicate some of your electricity and your bandwidth and your hardware to mining Elon Musk coin, or in this case, Dogecoin. He's like the Elon Musk is like the unofficial CEO of Dogecoin, or like president of Dogecoin. I don't know what his fictional titular title is, but yeah. Anyway, the point being that that's the type of tool cryptocurrencies are. And that's what gives them their strength. That's what gives them their popularity, their value, is what value we place in them. And this is where a lot of the concepts of, frameworks and all that, they're really nice to have on a piece of paper, and there is some value and considerations here. But I mean, you've got to be entitled to all of the information. And so far, I mean, we're on page 11 of this thing, and they still haven't told us what fucking blockchain they're talking about. They haven't indicated whether it's EOS or Ethereum or any other, Bitcoin Cash, BSV. They haven't indicated which blockchain they're talking about. And again, the concept of you having your own blockchain exists too. And Accenture is all about that, enabling you to deploy your own blockchain. But of course, it's their blockchain, but we won't talk about that. And that again, something to consider is this: that not 5 years ago, the average age of a blockchain developer was about 23 years old. The average age, meaning that there were a significant number of them that were younger and a few that were older. But for the most part, children. People with not a whole lot more than technological savvy and a little bit of exposure to cryptocurrencies. And today, some of those projects are still in existence. I mean, Ethereum, it's huge. There's people stacking all kinds of projects on top of Ethereum. It was started by Vitalik Buterin. And I don't even think he was old enough to drink when he deployed Ethereum. So, I mean, that gives you an idea of the thresholds here. I mean, basically anybody who can learn a few scripting languages and can cobble together a fucking Genesis block and a mining program and a wallet program can deploy their own cryptocurrency. You are literally Satoshi Nakamoto right now, sitting at your fucking computer, jerking off to fucking tentacle porn or whatever it is that you're into. You are Satoshi Nakamoto too. You are Bitmain. You are any one of a number of entities. Is your specialty in hardware? Shit, get to designing the next iteration of ASICs. I mean, the potential for quote-unquote disruption is still there. I mean, just because there's a bunch of people standing in the river right now does not mean they own it. The river is running around them. The market is free to run around them. And it could just as easily be you standing in their place. And that is the reality of these markets. And it's one of the things that, I'm listening to all these Senate subcommittees and reading these articles and talking about these frameworks. And they all really kind of cheapen the scope of this thing. It's like they're like mimetically narrowing it down. And these barriers just don't exist anymore. I mean, and I don't know. I think that there's a desire to retain some semblance of rationality and whatnot. But the market really is all that crazy out there. It is. And there's no denying it. Survival, baby. But the metrics of who gets to define who the participants are, those are all out the window now. And it could just as easily be some kid in Uzbekistan as it could be your next door neighbor, as it could be you. And so again, it's just a matter of what you actually want to devote your time and attention to. Do you want to invest in an existing project? Do you want to transact in an existing cryptocurrency? Or do none of the ones that you've actually experienced fit your use case? Fuck. Throw your hat into the ring. Polish up on your scripting skills. Or your coding skills, rather. And get to it. Anyway, as far as what else we're going to get into, I don't know if I want to finish this thing, man. It's pretty long. I'll say that a lot of the points that they're touching on are salient, and so we'll continue a little bit longer. Key dimension 3, reinventing products and processes, and this is where you fit into things, reinventing shit. Authentication. A core function of blockchain technology is its public and private key cryptography, which can serve as a basis for authenticating one user across multiple networks, resulting in increased confidence in the overall network and participants. Example metric, prevention of attacks by bad actors. And that's actually misplaced, I would say, because there's always the potential of a man in the middle, an intent attacker, and that's the bad actors that are involved here. And so the overall network confidence, there's people trying to gank shit on the networks all the time on Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum. There are intent attackers out there. So the idea that it's a explicit prevention of attacks by bad actors, no, it's not a prevention of attacks, it's just a diminishment of effective attacks. Which could be just as important, of course. Identity management. With more and more business transactions being conducted online, it no longer makes sense to rely upon physical documents as the only means of establishing the identity of a user or object. Blockchain technology enables enhanced characteristics in how digital identity is both managed and used, while moving beyond the limitations of being operated by one institution. Example metric, improved retention rate. Next one, marketplace creation. Blockchain technology improves confidence in products and services in the marketplace while also using a shared ledger, smart contracts, and digital assets to facilitate real-time peer-to-peer transactions. Example metric, new markets created. Not necessarily legal ones. New and enhanced products and services. The technology's unique capabilities are creating the foundations to enhance existing products and services and create new ones. New digital assets can exist beyond the umbrella of one organization, company, or government. How organizations offer and manage those products and services is evolving, giving power back to the creators and consumers. Early examples include digital rights management and improved land titling. Example metric, new product revenue. Land titling is a big one. I mean, the arbitration of exactly who owns what at any one time, especially when it comes to land, has been a continuing thing. And again, just because the land is titled to you and just because you can prove it does not necessarily mean that you can prevent people from trying to live on it too. Continuing. New and expanded partnerships. With the increased confidence in data afforded by blockchain, new partnerships can be formed more easily. Many of these partnerships can have automated components as well, though through exploiting digital assets and smart contracts. Example metric, new distribution channels. Obstacles and challenges. Beware of the hype. The technology is commonly seen as a great opportunity and transformation enabler, but unrealistic expectations remain a significant challenge, as indicated by your survey. Survey respondents, on average, expected a 24% return on investment on their early blockchain projects, but only realized a 10% return. On top of that, 42% of respondents expected a noticeable or significant brand improvement from simply announcing a blockchain project, with that total jumping to 87% upon delivering a blockchain project. It is important for organizations to carefully consider whether there are technologies or approaches to digitization that may deliver on their objectives more effectively or efficiently. Moving from proof of concept to production requires stakeholder buy-in. Proof of concept projects are often led by evangelists, developed in R&D and always in controlled environments. Moving to production requires stakeholder buy-in and can be a real challenge. As Peter Hume, Deputy Chief Executive Officer of Australian Securities Exchange, ASX, explains, helping stakeholders to understand the technology and its benefits, quote, is an ongoing process, and it's proven to be hugely valuable. It's enabling us to better understand the needs of our customers and ensure we develop functionality that will make their lives easier. Working with others is difficult, and it's hard to capture ecosystem value. Quote, the whole point of doing blockchain is it's a team sport. Christopher G. McDaniel, president of the Institute's Risk Block Alliance, explains, quote, if you're trying to do it on your own, maybe it's okay from a proof of concept standpoint. But if you ever want to get real production value, you have to join with others. Otherwise, there's no point. In order to ensure that proof of concepts, POCs, standards, and solutions are adopted at industry scale, organizations must get better at working together to create an environment of shared values and partner up to solve additional obstacles. David Reuter, founder and managing partner of R3, i.e. Ripple, says, quote, in the early days, it was getting everyone to understand the technology and its uses. Now it's more like how the operational and legal construct works with the new technology. Complex legacy systems and technical debt. Some 87% of survey respondents acknowledged that it is far more challenging to undertake the implementation of a blockchain solution as part of an existing digital transformation, especially when a substantial amount of capital has already been spent on a legacy technology. Alternative digital solutions may offer faster returns and be more strategic in the short term, but organizations should evaluate whether blockchain provides additional benefits in the longer term. Alright, well, there's a teeny tiny bit more. We're on page 12 of 17, but I think you're all capable if you've been listening this long. Again, there are some salient concerns and points being made here, but the thing about it is that these people, with their framework, as well-intended as it may be, and as context building as it may be for you, when considering whether or not to use cryptocurrencies, again, it disregards the value base of why people participate in cryptocurrencies to begin with. And that's that their return is pretty much a direct response to their participation. The more they participate, i.e. the more hashing power they dedicate to mining something, the greater their opportunities to actually get the block reward. And that's with regard to mining. But of course there are other incentives involved, and most of those concern the efficiency of transfer of monetary value from one entity to another. And this is probably the most disappointing, other than, of course, the disclusion of you from the conversation of who should be involved in this stuff. But that most people still don't understand how powerful this shit is, and they keep trying to put intermediaries between themselves and it. The latest one, and I think they kind of shit canned it by now. It was some payment system like Swapper. I can't remember the name for it. But there are supposedly thousands of participants that are going to be involved in it, and it will enable you to pay cryptocurrencies, right? Well, the problem is that the entity themselves, the payment service provider themselves, are the ones that accept the cryptocurrency and not the vendors. And this is again, by putting that third party between you and cryptocurrencies, you lose the value of the cryptocurrency in and of itself. I mean, what's the point of taking cryptocurrency as payment, like Bitcoin, for payment, if you don't actually accept the Bitcoin yourself? You're not actually putting any value or demonstrating any value to the rest of the market as far as how you ideologically view these coins, these cryptocurrencies. And that's the kind of feedback that we really require. When you try out Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash or any one of a number of cryptocurrencies out there, evaluate what your experience is of the transaction itself versus what's being enabled by your bank, by your existing payment service providers. And by that, determine which medium you want to use. And don't put a third party between you and it. If you're going to accept Verge currency as payment, accept it directly into your wallet. You'll cut out the intermediary that determines the future value of it for you. Maybe there's a differential in time between when you accept that payment and when you liquidate it out to fiat or whatever other currency you would like, whether it be Bitcoin or some other thing that it's got a trading pair with. But the person who determines that, the entity that determines that, is you, not some third-party payment service provider. And again, that's the real value of cryptocurrencies, is your direct participation in them. And it is with that I'd like to close out this episode. Thank you very, very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. As far as our last dance is concerned, I've been dying to play a little bit of 12-Foot Ninja pretty much all night. And this song in particular, although that one might be a little bit long. Well, we'll go with Adios from 12-Foot Ninjas, our last dance. So, we will be back again on Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want y'all to trade safe, do your homework, and watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody's going to do it for you. Thank you again for listening, and y'all have an excellent evening. Good night.